Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Trailhead DX, and to the first session here in this room today, certainly, and welcome to the Lightning Customization Roadmap. I'm Eric Jacobson. I'm one of the leads on the Lightning Platform product team. I'm thrilled to be able to be here with you guys this afternoon. In particular, my team focuses on all of our no-code customization capabilities for Lightning. So the Lightning App Builder being, of course, our flagship, but a number of other key declarative capabilities that we have on the Lightning platform. And I'm joined today by...
Hi, guys. I'm Joe Ryan, and I'm also a lead on the Lightning Experience team. My teams own some great stuff, from records and lists to the overall app experience, things like navigation and favorites and theming.
Wonderful. And now, of course, it wouldn't be a Salesforce presentation if we did not start with our favorite forward-looking statement slide. Because as it's been explained to me as a product manager, effectively every word that comes out of our mouths is a forward-looking statement. So I do ask that you make any purchasing decisions based on what's generally available, being that this is a roadmap presentation that you've all come and joined us for this afternoon. We are, of course, going to be making forward-looking statements. And with that, I just want to recap briefly, because since we were all last together at Trailhead DX last year, we've done a lot of incredible things. There's been a lot of innovation only in Lightning. You know, some amazing things like Joe's team's bringing out custom themes. My team's bringing out things like dynamic Lightning pages. And so there's been a lot of innovation here. And to start off with some of the key innovations on the experience side, let me hand it off to Joe and talk about some of those.
Cool. Thanks, Eric. So first up is themes and branding. How many of you know about the custom theming feature we shipped in spring? Awesome. How many of you are using it right now in your orgs? Love it. Thank you so much. So just so for those of you who don't know what this is, we heard a lot of requests for how do I make Lightning mine for my company? And so with a few simple things you can do with setting a couple colors, picking a few awesome images, we'll take care of the rest for you. We can roll out a theme to your entire org that looks like your brand. And you can create up to 300. So you can go crazy creating ones for product launches, company milestones, holidays, whatever you want to do, and rotate them with a click. We also have 7 built-in ones. So if you like what Salesforce designs, we have our Lightning Blue out-of-the-box theme. We have other ones that are kind of fun as well. And you can see if you can spot all of our Trailhead characters that are kind of hidden in the background. One of the cool things, too, is you administer these is you can also test drive them. So if you're not super confident in your visual design skills or you're mucking around with colors, totally get it. I'm the same way. You can just go into preview mode really quick, and just for you, the admin, you can drive around the org and see the theme active. And then if you're happy with it, you can deploy it to the entire org in a few clicks. So it's super cool. I mentioned a couple enhancements we have pretty much done now for summer. Again, safe harbor, but it's pretty much done. So for those of you who did all the stuff with this in spring, you realized when you upload images, you had to have an exact resolution. And we heard some feedback of like, hey, I don't really have great image editing tools on my computer. How do I get this right? So we've made this better. Now when you upload an image, it's got a crop resize tool built into the uploader, so it's really easy just to pick that great part that you want for the background images. Also heard from customers who have very well-defined brand colors for the company that go into primary and secondary brand colors. So we heard a lot of requests for your calculated brand color palette is cool and all, thanks for saving us the time, but we really want to have an exact color for our buttons. Why won't you let us do that? So we're going to let you do that. You can now override those and pick your own colors. That's summer. What I'm excited about kind of on the roadmap coming up tentatively right now for winter is app theming. So we want to take the same goodness of org theming and bring it down to the per app level. So rather than going right to profiles, we thought that apps were the logical next step for all you guys to use. And so you'll set up the theme the exact same way you do it now with org theming for this current feature, but you can then associate it with an app. And it's going to support packaging, so if you put it on the App Exchange, the theme goes with it, gets automatically installed, and all the goodness happens. So really excited to bring that forward in winter. Next up is personalization. We heard from a lot of customers who said, where is customize my tabs? Like going to Lightning, why can't I change my tabs? So after a little bit of a wait, sorry about that, we finally brought this feature out in spring. We're really excited about it. And we didn't just want to copy what we had in Classic. We wanted to really innovate this feature when it came to Lightning. So of course you can reorder your tabs. You can also rename some of your tabs. But the really cool part of this is you can actually bring in a granular item or two as tabs. So doing the research for this, we said, how do you use Salesforce? How do you navigate around Lightning? And we heard from a lot of people, they're like, I start my day on a list, and I work down a list. Or I start my day on a dashboard, I check how things are going, and then I dive into my work. And so we thought, well, if we just let you have a tab that was already a list or already a dashboard, wouldn't that save you some clicks? And they're like, do it. So here it is. So one of the cool things you can do is you can make that dashboard a tab, and then you can also reorder it first. So when you log into Lightning, for you, that's your very first landing tab. So you can start your day exactly where you want with this feature. Super cool. What we're unlocking with this and where we're going on the roadmap is just general end-user personalization functionality. So we've done a lot for admins. We love our admins. We also want to do a lot for end users. Part of making Lightning feel like it's theirs is giving them some things they can also tweak. But for you developers in the audience, thinking about how your components can take advantage of this is like a nice intersection. So we're going to create a personalization layer as a platform service, so some APIs. And the idea is that as you're building cool components, you could plug into that. So say you had a dashboard component, and it's set to have a certain dashboard, but you wanted to let the user have a drop-down and say, I want to pick a different dashboard. That would be remembered by the personalization layer for that component. So really early days, we're thinking out all the use cases right now, but we're really excited about this, and we'd love your feedback on what you want to see as far as how you might tap into a personalization layer as you work in Lightning. Okay, next up is list and records. So I know it's kind of a long slide here. I'm going to read through a lot of it because this really is the bread and butter, and we care a lot about these features. So we're doing a lot of innovation. Only in Lightning, we're going to have search and lists. So people who have used lists for a long time in Classic, you love the Rolodex. We hear that you miss it. We get it. We're working on it. But we actually think that search and lists is actually a better way to attack this problem. So seeing here in the screenshot we have, being able to literally just type in some text that you want to search for, even like just substrings, and it comes back with all the matching rows across all the columns. So we're going to work on this for the next release. We're really excited about it. We're underway on that right now. That's coming. List view personal default. So a lot of you have told us in Lightning, when you go to a list and it defaults to recently viewed, you're like, it's not my favorite list. Like, why can't it go to the one that I really want it to go to? We're going to let you pick what list you want per entity. So if you go to opportunities and you want to load like my top deals or whatever that is, you can set that for you on opportunities. All right, you like that one? All right, that's good. All right, good. So the next one really is around more information on the screen. So we have the related list cards. You can put them into table view. People keep asking, like, yeah, but I want more columns, like 4 or 6. Like, when can I have 10? So we're going to give you 10. And if 10 doesn't fit, then it'll just have a horizontal scroll bar. But it's up to you if you want to put 10 columns on there. You can have more things shown in those preview cards. Filter scopes. This is a gap with Classic that we want to close. So my team, my queue, all those kind of scopes you can apply to a list to filter it. We're bringing those to Lightning very soon. Sharing with groups, same kind of thing. It's a gap with Classic we want to close to make it easier to do that in Lightning. Now, the other part of what this team is up to, the list team, is they own related lists as well. And maybe you don't know this behind the scenes, but the code for related lists is not the same code for lists. It's a little bit bifurcated. We want to fix that. We're trying to make all lists be the same list and have all the same goodness. So you can see like the main list view that you see here has kind of got filters and all kinds of awesome stuff to it. Related lists are a little bit lagging behind right now in Lightning. We're going to combine them. We're going to bring all that goodness to related lists. So you're going to get things like filters for users, for admins. You're going to get inline edit. So we want to bring all that goodness and solidify it. And then, of course, expose it for you to use however you want. On records, a couple gaps we're working on closing: manual sharing of records, mass change owner. But what I really want to kind of surprise you with and maybe hopefully delight you with is what we're calling compact view. So show of hands, we get a lot of feedback. How many of you in this room, you're already raising your hand. Hello. How many of you in this room would tell us, you know what, Lightning's cool, but you have way too much white space on the screen? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so this is for you. Here's today's view of a record in Lightning. And, it's great. It's modern. It's clean. Here is a compact version of that we're getting close to being done with, which brings back the left-align labels that we hear that you guys love from Classic, if you're used to Classic. It also really increases the amount of information on the screen above the fold. In fact, you get a 30% denser record detail. You get 23% denser page overall. The cut line here is just, I think it's 1440 by 900 pixels, so kind of the average laptop resolution, just to kind of pick one. But you can see you get a lot more above the fold. And we're doing this not just on records. I'm doing the example here on records, but we're doing it across all the Lightning UI and the console UI in Lightning. So this will apply globally, and it's coming soon.
I saw a bunch of people taking pictures, Joe. I think they're pretty excited about this one.
It's very excited. All right, no, we're working. We're already a month into the project, so we're definitely working hard on that one. Okay, And then lastly for me in this section is console. This is a high productivity workspace. When you guys create apps for Lightning, you can pick 2 different kinds of navigation types up front. You can pick standard, which is awesome, and it has the personalize my nav feature, which by the way is coming to console soon. Or you can pick console navigation and you get this, and this is an awesome way to work with a lot of data, open records efficiently and browse them. However, I'll point out to you a new thing we launched in spring is called pinned regions. This lets you lock certain information on the screen at all times. So think about the case of I'm looking at a case. I want to see kind of highlight details like I'm seeing here on the top about that case as I look at different subtabs and move around. So persistent information always on the screen to help you understand what's going on as you dive through subtabs and work across records. So that's awesome. And you can go into App Builder now and you can change the template and use it on your pages. So it's really cool to take advantage. You can have stuff in the top region, stuff in the left region. You can kind of pick how it works for you. The overall mission right now, we're trying to get Lightning service like fully there, everybody moved over, everybody happy, and so the team is working very hard to close all the gaps and make sure that console and Lightning is amazing. And we know that people who have done console for years in Classic have spent a lot of time and money investing in things like Visual Force and doing custom glue to do all the things you want to do for integration and automation. And so we get that, and we are bringing all that to Lightning Console, so you can take all that and move it right over and use it in Lightning from the get-go. So the overall theme for the roadmap on console is just that you're going to have a lot of help from us to bring things over, and we're going to give you things like JavaScript APIs and other extensions that basically help you do more automation and glue more easily. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Eric, who will talk to you about the awesome goodness in declarative app building.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. So, of course, we've talked about App Builder, and at the heart of what we build with App Builder is we're editing Lightning pages. These are our pages that we look at when we see our home page. We look at any record pages, or if we create custom net new app pages that you could use on the Salesforce mobile application and the Lightning experience. And so with the spring release, we added some great new components there. So a sister component, if you will, to the tabs component is now the accordion. So instead of if you want to be able to see a set of components side by side, now you can have stacked regions of components that you're able to collapse and only look at one section at a time. It's a really great affordance for being able to condense a lot of essential information into those console sidebars that Joe was just talking about there in the pinned region. The Flow team with Lightning Flow, you saw mentioned in the keynote there. They've also added the ability to pause flows and have a component that will give you visibility into your paused flows. And some of the things that we're working on as well here is that the list views component, so actually taking the full power of the list view that Joe was talking about, well, we made that already available as a component, but it was missing one key feature. Personally, one of my favorite features about list views, which is that inline edit capability. And so that's coming soon. We'll bring inline edit to list views as components on whatever page that you're putting them on. The other thing that we're working on is that perhaps you support users that are spread geographically around the world, and maybe they don't all speak the same language. So if you've gone in and customized any labels that you've put onto a Lightning page, you've probably been wondering, wait, how do I ensure that that works for all of my users around the world? Well, we're working on page localization. We've got a pilot of that now, so if that's something that's of interest to you, certainly reach out to your account rep and we can get you set up with the pilot of that. We're working on being able to make that even more pervasive throughout the application. And dynamic Lightning pages. How many of you have had an opportunity to try out a dynamic Lightning page, to conditionally show what's on the page? I think this is really showing the full power of Lightning. This is why we had to build the Lightning platform. Because what we've done is we've brought the power of our formula engine, something that's been a core part of the Salesforce ecosystem, the Salesforce platform, since basically the beginning. We've actually brought that down, and we're running it in the client. So when you make a dynamic Lightning page, the rules that decide whether or not a component should be shown are being evaluated on your mobile device, on your Lightning Experience browser there. So it's actually an interactive application running there, and it allows us to do some pretty remarkable things. With the spring release, we added the ability there that it can not just vary by the record that you're looking at, but records that are related to that. We've also given you the ability, we've unlocked the user context, so we can know who you are, allowing you to tap into any custom fields that perhaps you've added to that user object, as well as form factor support for those app pages that can work both on the phone and the desktop. Some of the things that we're thinking about for the roadmap here is being able to bring custom permissions into this so that you can actually use custom permissions as a way to be able to control what components are shown to different groups of users. So you don't have to rely just on creating different profiles as a way to differentiate pages, but actually be able to do it much more granularly through your use of permissions and then applying them via one or more permission sets. Longer term, the other thing that we want to be able to do here is actually have support for expressions so that we can actually have a dynamic value, if you will, for the right-hand side of one of those filters. So rather than just saying, is it greater than 500, be able to actually say, is this field greater than some other field? So giving you a real powerful capability there to truly unlock that power dynamically. And really, in my mind, where this all comes together is the idea of holistic app creation. Just this morning, in fact, even someone said to me, why did you name it the Lightning App Builder? Doesn't it just edit Lightning pages? And I said, you're right, bear with us. And we've taken the first step towards that. And the idea with the spring release, we brought in the capability now where app settings have been unified in with the set of pages in terms of what you're able to edit inside App Builder. So the idea here from the very beginning was that the App Builder would really become the tool where you work with not just your individual page, but all the pages that you have for an app, as well as the other settings for that application. So this is the first step down that path. Some of the things that we're working on here that I'm really excited about will be making activation a much more holistic experience so you can get a sense for all of the pages and how they're being assigned. Giving you the ability to swap templates. Perhaps what you want is that you started out with one template, you've made a lot of customizations, you've configured a lot of component properties, you've added those dynamic lightning page filters, and then you decide you need to switch to another template. Right now, that's not the easiest thing to do. I mean, yes, if you're willing to download the page using Salesforce DX, you could actually do it pretty easily in an editor like VS Code, but then we're going to be copying XML around and doing things like that. We want to make this drag and drop, want to make it declarative, so you can point and click and say, I want to go from the template that has the sidebar on the left to the template that has the sidebar on the right. You shouldn't need to use a code editor to do that. And we want to bring page preview capability into App Builder as well. As we start adding more and more of these dynamic rules, our pages actually start to become complex. The page is almost an application at that point, and we're going to need to give you some tools to understand how that works. Okay, so rather than just keep going on slides about some of this stuff, I think it would be fun to jump into a demo, take a look at some of the power of all of these things and how they really come together holistically. So let me take you into the imaginary world, if you will, for the moment, of Electron Motors. So Electron Motors is a fictional electric car company, not unlike some other electric car companies that we might happen to know. And here we are on their homepage, and we can see here, for example, we see some different things on their homepage. There's a cross-country electric journey going on. Well, that sounds like kind of a fun thing to do. It'd be a little bit of a trek from charging station to charging station, because here that's what's telling me on my intranet page. Well, if I want to go on that cross-country journey, I need to know if I've got enough time to take off from the office to do that. Well, the beautiful thing here is that this is a custom application that's been built here, and this is essentially our intranet application. So I can just jump over. I can bring up my concierge application. This is bringing in one of our third-party partner components, Catalyst Concierge. And then I can just say, wait, let me check my PTO balance, and I can see here, look at that, okay. It's going to let me know here, I've got 199 hours. I think I've got time to disappear from the office, go for that cross-country drive, and check out what it's really like to go from coast to coast in an electric car. But the other thing that I really like about this application here is that, as Joe mentioned, you notice here, one of my tabs says Service Central Dashboard. Well, what is that? Well, as you might expect, it in fact is the dashboard that I want to look at when I start my day. And that's it. A dashboard that I care about has now been added as a tab for me, not for Joe, not for you, but that's the dashboard that I want to see. In fact, you know what? I might even want to change it. I don't just want to see it. I actually want to see it as the most important item. So I can drag and drop and make it be the first item in my version of the navigation for this application. So this is truly personalized, allowing me to start the day just the way I expect to. And to give you some sense for the power of this is that I could also go in and say, you know, perhaps here I want to see a group that I care a lot about. And so I'll bring up a chatter group here just by quickly searching for it. And you'll see here I've got my wireless power, because clearly the future of electric cars isn't just about them being electric, but we don't want to have to plug them in every night. Tethering is no fun. So we've got our wireless power group here. And you'll notice that when that tab opened, it became italic. It has a little asterisk next to it, because that's letting me know that that, in fact, is something that I can choose to add to my nav bar. So just like that, 2 clicks, and I can go and add that tab to my nav bar. I believe, Joe, coming in summer, you'll actually even be able to drag and drop to reorder those tabs, right?
That's right, yep.
So just like that, you can really get a sense for how that's going to work, and you can really personalize your app. Now, one other thing, though, however, when I look at this, is that this app does not feel like Electron Motors. We've got a strong visual identity, and that's not brought forward here in this application. Well, with the power of that branding capability that Joe was mentioning, we can very easily go in here and we can take a look at our theme. So we've built a theme specifically for Electron. We've uploaded some brand images. Our marketing team gave us the hex code so we know exactly what Electron blue looks like. And the system automatically calculated some additional brand colors for me there. I was able to upload in the images that I want for page backgrounds, for group banners, even for my profile banner. Everyone can start with our future car there. And then with one click, I can activate that. And when I then jump back over here, we'll refresh, and we will see we've got our custom application there. And you can see it's now brought on the Electron theme. So just like that, we can really customize the look of this application for it to embrace what we expect to have there. Now, the one last thing I want to show you on this particular screen here is that on the top right, I've got this component here that's saying there's an equality party tonight at 6:30. Hope everyone's going to join us for that. And tomorrow at noon, there's the Lightning keynote. Well, that's great, because we're all here. Imagine that we're all here at Electron HQ. But if perhaps we were a remote employee, this wouldn't be an appropriate component to be showing to us at that time. So with the power of the Lightning App Builder and the dynamic Lightning Pages capability, I can make that disappear and only show it if it is appropriate. So here I can select my component, I can scroll down to the bottom here, and I can set my component's visibility. So in this case, I want to set, and I want to say basically here that if I want to pick from my user object the office location, that will allow me to select my field, and when my office location is equal to HQ, in other words, for the purpose of today, HQ is Moscone West, when we are here, that component should be shown. And likewise, if I was located in any of my remote offices, that component would disappear. I could just as easily add an additional component in that would show the inverse and give them a different message, perhaps letting them know that they could live stream the keynote instead of attending in person. So just like that, we can really personalize the homepage to the users that are going to be experiencing it. Okay, now the other thing that I want to look at here is not just my home application, but the app where I'm going to do a lot of my work, and that's my service application here. And so that is a custom console application. And so you can see here, I come in, I'm looking at a list of my cases here. I can go and select a couple of them. And now I could have used inline edit to allow me to go in and change the status of a couple of the cases here. But a new feature that we've introduced in Spring is that I can now use mass quick actions. So the power that you love of quick actions can now be applied to multiple records at a time. And one of the really beautiful things of that, in particular for editing on a list view, is that it can span multiple record types. So while inline edit requires all the records to be the same record type, you can do a mass quick action even if the records come from multiple different record types. So we can go in here, we can say that we want these cases to be working, we want their priority to be high, and we'll go ahead and make that change. It'll let us know that it's going to update 2 records, it's going to tell us which field it's going to change. We'll hit OK to confirm, and it's going to go ahead and make that change for me. And just like that, I now have those cases in working status. And let's go take a look at them. I'm going to go here and I'm going to basically open those. So I'm going to open a couple of cases just by command clicking. You'll notice that they opened as workspace tabs here at the top of my console. But I clicked on case numbers. And if you notice, what I got, in fact, wasn't a case, but it was an account. Because we want to think of people not just as a case number, but really as a person. So using the console routing rules, we can actually configure it so that an object, a record, will open as a sub-tab of a related record, so that your case can always, in this example, open as a sub-tab of the account that owns that case. So here we are, we're on the case page, and you may think to yourself, well, this doesn't look like a standard case page. Well, certainly it's got our Electron theme in it, but it's also using a custom Lightning page template that allows me to do some pretty trick things here, like being able to expand and collapse some of those regions. So that's the power of those custom Lightning page templates giving me that. But I can also go in and further refine this page to make it even a little bit more productive for my service users here at Electron, again by going in and editing the page using the app builder. We'll come in, and perhaps a couple of things that I want to do here. I want to get rid of this case history just as a table and see it in a bit more visual way that will allow me to see not just a progress bar, but then as well give me a button that will allow me to expand it back and see the full details in a table later if I need to. I can know whether or not my customers are VIPs, and I can bring in a custom component for that. But while we love all our customers, we only want to show this VIP status if they are in fact a VIP. So again, another great use case for dynamic Lightning pages. We'll add a filter, and we can very easily go in and say, if this customer is a VIP, we should go ahead and show that component, and otherwise it should be hidden from the page. It gets automatically badged with a little orange icon, letting us know that this one has a visibility rule attached to it. The one last tool that I want to bring in is to be able to help diagnose the problems with these cars. Now, rather than using a custom component for this, I'm going to use a heavily customizable standard component. And that, in fact, is our flow component, which is a great way to automate a process like getting your car repaired. So in this case, I'm going to bring in a custom tab here called Repair, and I'm going to use that then as the place to be able to put my flow onto this page. So I'm going to drag and drop that on, and I'm going to configure that here that I want to pick my Create Repair flow and pass in the information that I need. There we go. And just like that, we've made all the customizations that we need. I can jump back over to the runtime of this case here, and we'll see what our agent is able to see now. Here we are. Sean is in fact a VIP, so the VIP status shows up for him. My history now is showing as a progress bar there. I can expand it and see the full table if I need to see all of the details of how that case has progressed. And then I can go in and take a look at that repair. And with the power of Lightning Flow, I can get a real sense for what this car might look like. And in this case, I want to try and diagnose a squeal. Well, that's probably coming from the wheels here. So if I hover over my wheels, they light up, and it allows me now to go in and diagnose that it's probably a problem with the brake coupler. I can then go in and schedule that repair, get this car back on the road, and ensure that we have another happy customer. So just like that, really bringing in the power of Lightning customization, Lightning flows, our themes, all of this really pulls together and shows you just the true power of the customizability and the power of our Lightning platform here and now. So I want to fast forward and talk a little bit about some things then that are coming out on the roadmap, both near term and a little bit longer term. The Lightning Usage app. This is something brand new. It'll be coming in the summer release, available for free to all customers, and it gives you visibility into how your customers are using the application. In particular, as you're planning your journey of Lightning adoption, you want to perhaps see which of your customers perhaps are switching back from Lightning to Classic. This will give you visibility into that. It'll give you visibility into what web browser your users are using. So perhaps you've given them a choice of different browsers. We certainly have our favorites, and you can use this as a way to encourage your users about what browser you may want them to use. You can even see what pages are being viewed most frequently. Ultimately, we want to be able to bring some performance information into this as well, so you can help fine-tune that experience for your users. Another great tool that's on the near-term horizon, the Lightning Configuration Converter. So perhaps your Classic experience today makes use of JavaScript buttons. Anyone in the room have a couple JavaScript buttons they're still trying to think about? Okay, thought you might. Well, we've actually built a tool that will automatically convert JavaScript buttons, at least a subset of them, into capabilities that are supported by Lightning Experience. So we analyze the code of your JavaScript, we parse it, and we match it to new capability. We will automatically then create the new button for you, whether it is a URL button or a Lightning or a quick action, which will run natively as declarative metadata in Lightning. We can even help you down the path of creating new custom Lightning components to use in Lightning component actions there. And so this will be coming soon. Look for it later this spring. And then a few things that are a little bit further out. Something that's near and dear to my heart, something I've been working at for pretty much since the time I joined Salesforce, was that there's a tool called the Page Layout Editor. I imagine that perhaps people have a few page layouts. That doesn't quite feel like a Lightning tool, does it? But what if we could drag and drop fields like we drag and drop components? What if individual sections of a page layout could behave as a component so that we could place it onto different sections of a page? We could attach dynamic visibility rules so that our layouts, that our forms become dynamic, so that as we're filling out a form, the set of fields that are presented to the user changes based on inputs that they've provided in other fields. What if as you're typing in your validation rules, evaluate the moment you tab out of a field, instead of waiting until you submit a record and you get, sorry, this record could not be saved for the following 14 reasons. I think we can make all of those better. We are hard at work on it. It is a tough problem. Page layouts are one of the most widely used and one of the oldest parts of our declarative platform, so we have to tread carefully. We have to make sure that we move forward, but don't do so in a way that would break any of your existing customization. So we're hard at work on it. We're really excited about it. Stay tuned. It will be coming. The last one that I wanted to share is around the idea of mobile and customizing the mobile experience. So we've moved forward quite a lot in terms of what is possible to customize today in the Lightning experience. But we might have forgotten that we actually started the Lightning journey on our phones. The first place that we were running Lightning was in the Salesforce One application, as it was named at the time. It is based fundamentally on Lightning components, yet you can't do simple things like put a Lightning component onto a record page in the mobile application. So we want to bring those experiences back together, bring you the power of App Builder as a way to customize that experience, to actually converge that, to bring the full power of Lightning apps, so that you actually have an app launcher in your mobile application and can have multiple sets of applications set up and distributed to different users instead of a single mobile navigation that's shared by all the users across your entire org. So again, something that we're working on. Stay tuned, but it is definitely something that we're actively working towards. So with that, I think we've got a few minutes still for some questions. So we've got 2 microphones in the room here. If you want to come up, we'll be happy to take any questions. And then if we run out of time, we'll be happy to hang out for a few minutes afterwards and address any additional questions. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Really excited about a lot of the features that we're seeing on the screen and looking forward to those coming out. Within the full application itself, what coordination between the work that you're doing and the events that you're making in Lightning Experience is being made with the communities team that reflect a lot of the similar requirements?
They are similar but different for an important reason. Fundamentally, they serve different audiences. You know that when you're building a community, it is generally customer facing. Certainly, there are employee communities and partner communities, but it is a slightly different audience. The key thing that is shared across them, though, is that the idea of using Lightning components as the underlying technology for being able to customize and extend those applications is absolutely a shared part of that experience. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Eric. You were talking about the ability to move fields around the page like components.
I was.
Way back in the day, there was the idea to replace a field with a component. Is that still on the roadmap?
So the question was there the idea of being able to replace a field with a component to give you the ability to do something else? It is definitely something that we are still thinking about. It's a little bit further out on the roadmap there, sadly, but it is still something I think is a very compelling use case, is that you don't necessarily want to have to completely replace the entire record detail and all of the goodness that it provides just because you want to have a custom control for providing the input for a particular field. So stay tuned. It's definitely something I still want to see happen. I think it's a little bit further out, though. Yes, sir.
When will there be parity for the templates that are available to you when you are creating either a Lightning app page or a Lightning record page or a Lightning home page?
When will there be parity? You mean so the same set of templates across each page type?
Correct.
I don't think there's any active plan right now to specifically say that there will be precise parity across those. One of the key things that we did there, while certainly in the realm of the developer, is that we introduced the ability for custom templates. So that now unlocks the ability for anybody to go and create a template. It does require a little bit of code to be written. Stay tuned. I think that we're going to have some easy instructions for that coming soon. I'm looking forward to a blog article that's going to help make that a bit more transparent for users. It's an opportunity then as well for people to actually go and publish their own templates. They are just components under the hood, so it's actually something that you can publish to AppExchange, for example. And then longer term, sure. Would I love to see more templates to give you that additional variety there? Absolutely. Oh, okay. Yes.
I love the temporary tab to nav tab thing. It's awesome. The first thing I did was report worked great. The second thing I tried to do was report folder, and you can't do that. Is there anything on the roadmap for being able to add a report folder?
There's a couple gaps left that we want to close with certain things you can't pop out into its own tab. So we're working on getting all those gaps closed. So stay tuned on that.
Cool.
Yeah, glad you like the feature, though. Thank you.
One of the issues that we come up with really, really often is the number of times we've had to use a button hack to jump to a report and pass parameters. Is there any roadmap item to have a component to build that button hack as something native versus having to configure or button hack your way into the report?
Well, certainly, report parameters are now actually a supported URL syntax, being able to pass parameters into reports. So you can do that then using a URL button. Are you perhaps asking for a tool to help you generate that URL button? Is that what you're looking for?
Anything better than hacking your way into an FB report or PD0 passing to a report?
Okay. Okay. No, that's a great ask. You heard me mention things like the Lightning configuration converter, where we're trying to basically help analyze existing JavaScript buttons and convert them. I think some of the same underlying technology that we're investing in there might allow us to unlock that kind of capability. So it's a great idea. It's something we'll definitely take back and noodle on. Thank you.
Hi. The dynamic validation thing that you talked about, I have a bunch of people who really would like to have that. So is that like a summer thing? I know it's safe harbor, or is it much further? Like, you don't need to really save to do.
I guarantee you it is not a summer 18 functionality. I will be proud to release it at a Dreamforce. Okay. I just don't yet know which one. So it is a big chunk of work. It is something we're actively working towards, but it is at least a year out, because it is a fundamental rework of how our layouts work under the hood.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, when will you start supporting Lightning experience on tablet browsers?
So we're working towards that. We currently have a research study in the market right now with a few handpicked customers just to get feedback on the use cases and the UI and how it's going. For us to offer a pilot even of this, there's work for R&D to do to kind of make sure the bugs are out. And there's UI patterns to change, like hovers don't work with your finger. And so, having to rewrite parts of the UI to actually have that work well on a touch device. So we're very cognizant of that. We hear a lot of feedback about it. We know that people would like it to be there. There's kind of two angles to it. There's the bringing it directly to the tablet angle, and then what Eric mentioned earlier about kind of bringing mobile functionality and Lightning functionality together, where you can configure things in App Builder and have those pages deploy to the Salesforce app, is another angle this is coming in. So your configuration is done once, and you can use it on different devices. But long story short, it's coming. It's just not like near term. Okay.
You talked about with the user navigation, user personalization on the navigation.
Yep.
And not making it the same experience as it was in Classic. Within that kind of the UI framework where you're configuring that personalization, is there any plans to add the functionality to add tabs that aren't in the app there?
Yes.
Right now I've kind of got to go through App Launcher and then go find it there.
I forgot to mention that on the slide. Yes, so it's done for summer. So it'll be in summer. We have an ad flow now. So when you go in the pencil and you have the edit screen, you'll have an add more button, which will let you take favorites or any of your all items and just put them right in all together. Sorry about that. It was a big feature to build, and honestly, we had to kind of prioritize. Part of my job is what can we do as the MVP, and the ad just didn't make it, given the chunk of work that it was. So yeah. Yep.
Is there anything coming, I don't know about new standard components so much, or anything new that would apply to chatter groups specifically? Just because I want to customize them more than what I'm able to do right now.
I haven't heard any specific plans for new components around chatter groups. I mean, I know that they've added, over the last several releases, they had added components for allowing you to track and monitor engagement within the groups so that you can customize and place on the record page for the group itself. They've also added the capability, I mean, this was several releases ago, they added the capability where the chatter groups support record types, so you can actually have different record pages for different types of groups now. But beyond that, I'm not aware of any other specific innovations happening on the group's capability.
You mentioned about the fields dynamically available on the page layouts. There was a question around that. I couldn't follow the answer on that one. So like you showed the VIP based on a user profile, you display that component. Do you have a similar thing for on the details section of the Lightning tab right there? I want to see some fields dynamically available.
I was saying that is the roadmap aspect of it. Yes, so that we're working towards that. The first step was being able to dynamically control components. Now what we want to do as part of investing in the layout capabilities will be to be able to bring that down first to sections of fields on a Lightning page, but eventually to individual fields anytime you're interacting with that layout, whether you are creating a record, editing a record, cloning a record, any of those actions. That is ultimately the goal there.
So in the details, you have sections, that's the sections you want to control first and then the fields later. So
Correct.
You're looking at really long term on this one, right?
It's going to be iterative. It's going to take multiple releases for sure.
Okay,
it's a big project. It's something we think is important, and we want to do it, but we want to make sure that we do it right. Okay. With that, I want to thank everyone. We'll be here for a few minutes afterwards if we didn't get to any last questions. So again, thank you all.